No mai, haere mai. Welcome to Awakairangi Park in sunny Wellington for the 2024 Division 1 New Zealand Ultimate Championships. My name, as always, is Blair Monroe, and I'm joined in the booth by the one, the only Richard Wolfgang Harris. Now, Richie, we've got a great match up here between OaF, Otago and Friends, and the Wild Bombocats from Wellington. Now, from the Cougars at the airport to the Cats on the field, you've had a lot of interesting experiences this last week with our feline friends. What are you looking forward to most in this match?
I'm just looking forward to how the replay over the Div 2 finals last year goes. So this was an amazing game. Finished in Universe. Phenomenal points scored by Otago and Friends to win their first championship for Dunedin, as we see them getting off to a solid poor start.
So we're seeing the Wellington Bombocats on the right-hand side of your screen playing out of the dark uniform, setting up a horizontal stack, so trying to create channels near towards the disc and towards the end zone. Some aggressive defense is really trying to stifle the momentum of the Wildcats, pushing them towards that far sideline, hoping to use that extra sideline as an additional defender.
Isaac living on this now, trying to get out from that sideline and back into the center of the field.
A beautiful inside break throw to open things up. We see Mitchell Brennan with a textbook layout.
It's a phenomenal start. Hope he plays for the rest of the game with that entire energy.
It's Mitchell Brennan of the crowd's favorite Euphoria, who came second at our Division 2 Open Ultimate Championships just last weekend, losing out to Nas. But that is going to be another turnover. The disc is going to go back to Bombocats, but it looks like there's a stoppage call. So just going to hope for some signals from the players on the field as to what exactly caused that stoppage.
Not sure if it was a pick downfield.
So when you say pick, Rich, what exactly are you talking about within the context of Ultimate?
Well, ultimately, it's when a positioning of an offensive player stops a defender from making a play to follow him and actually mark them up properly. So essentially, it's the ability for a defender to follow through and actually make a play on the disc when it comes in.
Okay, so after that pick having occurred, looks like that pick may have been retracted as it led to a turnover regardless. So we're going to see Bombocats once again.
It's Bowen and Brown working together, trying to set something up that far right-hand side.
Mitchell Brennan calling for a deep cut on the upline. There it is. James Bowen with an upline cut for the score to bring us 1-0 over Otago and Friends from Dunedin.
While Bombocats just doing quick 1-2s up the sideline there. And that's sometimes all you need, especially when starting on the little points. You don't necessarily want to go with a deep huck early. You don't necessarily want to do anything too extreme. Just want to sell yourself in for the game. Try and manipulate the defense around the disc and get an easy score to start us off.
Absolutely. I mean, it can be a difficult thing, particularly when the defense is quite aggressive and pushing you towards that one sideline. It adds that other element. It narrows the playing field, which is why quite often, I mean, we saw a really, really good opening pass from Isaac Living, a nice inside break to get underneath the arm of his defender, bring the disc back towards the center field, just to really widen things up for them. But it was great work by the OaF defense to really pressure on that sideline. It wasn't enough to shut down that point from the Bombocats, though. So really fantastic offense that we saw there. Again, a nice little outside-in chip, so the outside or furthest edge of the disc was up, which means the disc is going to curve back around. And you'll see quite a lot of those, particularly when the defense is pushing you up against that far sideline. And the ability to curve that disc is a huge advantage for an offensive side, to be able to control where the disc is going to leave and then re-enter the field. Now, as we see Otago and friends come out on offense, it is worth noting this is the open division, which means that it is open to players of all genders. We actually see Abby Liddell, one of the phenomenal stars from last week's Division 2 women's division, as OaF versus Zodiac final was such a fantastic match to watch. Taking the field here as well for OaF to help bolster their numbers and bring a little bit of that calm leadership. We're seeing some similar great upline cuts, really still using that far sideline. And OaF answer with one of their own. What a fantastic, very quick and efficient offensive point to bring it back to a tied game.
Just manipulating the disc perfectly, just creating cuts out from that stack, and just creating a lot of space so they can work the disc up the field. You love to see it, especially when it's this early in a game. There's no wind to speak of at the moment. Just as I say that, a tiny breeze comes from behind me. There's maybe a sign of things to come. But it's a lovely day here in Wellington, and it's important that the disc control remains solid for both teams to start us off.
So just to sort of piggyback on what you said there, Rich, so we do typically find at Awakarangi Park, just the way that we set up our fields and the way they are relative to the car park, to the surrounding terrain, we typically do find a crosswind that develops from the bottom side of your screen towards the top. And so as that wind starts to pick up and starts to play more of an influence in the game, we'll be sure to make sure that that we remind you of that and give a bit of context as to what impact that's going to have on the play. We are going to see Otago and friends set up for the pull, facing off against a strong-looking Bombocats line.
Let's see how they set up. We just had Peter Hoban, the coach of the Wild Bombocats, just have a quick chat before that pull was taken. See if they'll come up with a couple of set plays as they swing it out to this near side of our screen.
We saw Reese Hearn pushing deep, trying to develop a nice cut from the handler space. It doesn't look like it's going to come away. We see Andy Zhu with the disc pushing towards the far sideline, finding James Bowen. Working with Zhu, threading through to find Hearn in the midfield, leading out in front of the defense. It's Bowen one more time. Supported now by Brown. Some good, still calm defense. It's not going to be enough to stop the disc going back to Bowen in the midfield. Zhu's there as the support. We see Josh Wong trying to develop a cut in the mid-space, but the disc gets picked off by
Daryl Yeo there. And he'll manipulate, swing around, get us 1-2 disc play, and then have a look at the end zone. Nothing really manipulated for the offense there. But Benta Lynch now with the disc.
Oh, Max Benta Lynch, what a dynamo. Manages to come back near side, finds Missin.
Benta Lynch was a very, very key target in last year's Division 2 final. Came away with a lot of very, very important points towards the end of the games. Harrison Free now looks deep. Easy score.
Beautiful work by OaF to put it to a 2-1.
Again, Harrison Free to Benta Lynch.
Oh.
It's a good celebration there from OaF.
Absolutely. Just fantastic offense there from the side from Dunedin. Harrison Free, Benta Lynch. There's quite a few names on this team that we see a lot of. They tend to definitely close out a lot of points together. A lot of experience playing together. They know where they're looking to cut. They know what kind of throws the other person's most comfortable with. And so when you've got that really well-developed chemistry, it's quite easy for, as play closes towards the end zone, for that natural chemistry to come to the fore and really open up the field for some really tidy scores.
Well, I think that's one point to take note of, is that Otago and Friends have essentially taken about 10 players back from their Division 2 winning run last year. Bombocats this year are made up of a bit of a mishmash of players, played for various different teams in Div 2 and Div 1 last year, but including former OaF captain Joshua Wong on their squad as well. So haven't seen a huge amount of pressure placed on Joshua Wong by Otago and Friends, but I'm sure they'll be looking to apply some close defensive marking, shall we say.
Now, it's one of those things where the personal politics and the former teammates, you know, you establish a history as a team together, and it's potential that, you know, the spirit or the nature of that switch of sides, you never really know how it's going to play out in terms of how the teams stick to their game plan or what kind of aggression they put on display. It's BLB with the disc, finds Brown in the midfield. Brennan on an undercut, marked closely. It's going to go through to Kubra instead. Brennan on the sideline now, fakes the big scuba, goes back center field to Brown. Looking for Bilby on the wide shot, it's there.
A nice little stutter cut there from Bilby as we see a pick called downfield.
Yep. And so that pick is going to be resolved. Players are going to have the opportunity to catch up to where they think they reasonably would have been had the pick not occurred.
Good spirit there by Brennan, calling Doran a bit closer to him.
Is it spirit or is it confidence? You know, even if you're that close to me, you're not going to stop me getting the disc. Only time will tell.
Josh Hogan there with the disc now. He'll be looking to use his height down the end zone further. It's a great take
by Swanson. Puts the high shot up, looking for Brennan. It fades early, but he's going to jump it in for the score.
That's a great follow the disc and a great read. He watched it all the way down. Gust of wind took it, watched it all the way into the hands, kept his body static. Perfect reception.
Oliver Swanson, I mean, if nothing else, he's keeping it interesting for the folks watching at home. What a just fantastic touch. I mean, just the sheer amount of height he got on that jump to get a touch on the disc, but then that immediate focus switch of it hasn't hit the ground yet, I've still got a shot. And then just putting that high shot up for Brennan, had the separation, and exactly as we were saying before, yes, he called his defender closer to him on that pick, but he trusts his own speed to get separation when he needs it. So great score there by Mitchell Brennan to tie up the game.
Well, his cut off of the D was pretty phenomenal because he essentially I don't want to say broke the ankles, but he did a quick turn when the D was running in front of him, moved it back, turned around, ran deep. That's always going to be an easy option for an offensive throw.
Absolutely, especially, I mean, the throw came out quite high, but, I mean, we've seen Oliver Swanson put up some pretty big shots in the past, so there was enough like meat behind that one, I think, to keep it stable, to give it the distance despite the height. And Brennan had just a great read underneath that as well, so fantastic work to tie that game. It's going to be Bombocats out on defense now. Bowen with the pull. It comes up nice and high.
OaF working through the hands with a deep shot downfield. BLB. Oh, it's
and it's cleaned up by Nozal. What a great, just great vision there.
Well, the key is to follow through the disc until it hits the ground. Until that disc is down, it's still in play.
Yeah, and so, I mean, BLB making great pressure on the defense. OaF able to get a touch to it, but it's Nozal with the closing speed, managing to shut that one down.
Can't see numbers. Bowen brings in the disc to Zoo.
Bowen on a great upline cut, leaving Zoo in the backfield space. Manages to chip to Chambers.
Yeah, well marked by Otago and Friends, but they're just going to fall behind a little bit. The big huck goes forward to a wide open Bowen. Not in yet.
Hoping to close. Something needs to develop. Goes around. What a close.
Beautiful swing forehand. I believe that's Isaac Living, is it?
Isaac Living with the score for that one to put it back to a one-point game. Great work by OaF.
The throw was there. The defense was solid, But the thrower had to manipulate and curve around a defender in order to get to Living, so top-notch stuff there. While Bombocats on a bit of a roll now as we look at the replay here. That deep shot there to Bowen, who was perfectly positioned, got well off his defender and was in perfect place to set up.
There's the fake. That was it. A hard plant on that near side foot, pushing hard and back towards the rear of the end zone as well. It's a tough one to mark. When you're playing defense against that, you're trying to be as aware of your player's position as you are of the disc. It's really difficult to juggle both of those things. It's a hallmark of those elite defenders. But that hard plant to give the impression he was cutting back across towards the front cone and just fading off a little bit towards the back to allow Bowen to just put that shot up high and long and give him that opportunity, that space to run onto.
But it's a great effort from that double team player who was coming in late to try and put off the throw and just get a tip on it. Just a little bit over the head, but solid effort nonetheless as Bombocats go up 3-2.
Brennan with the disc for the pull. Just taking a second to talk through whatever the defensive strategy is going to be. We see a signal for readiness. It's answered by OaF. A nice outside pull, so it's going to touchdown just in bounds and then start to roll.
Favourable roll from OaF.
We see Brown on the disc. He goes wide.
They're just trying to find something a bit more further downfield. The cuts are solid, but the marking is pretty excellent.
Drives to far sideline for Chappell. Continues working up the line.
Looking end zone, nothing forming as we go for a hammer cross field.
Looking for Liddell, but not able to snatch that one down.
Planning ahead and just sneaking out the back. Putting into a completely open position, but just not able to connect at the end there.
Slightly overcooked on that one, but I mean, you do love to see it.
Yeah, of course.
Crossfield hammer right in front of the end zone. You got to give the people what they want.
I'd love to see a hammer in Div 1. While Bombocats will be working out of their own end zone.
Great aggressive in cut by Hogan, immediately getting faked off, peeling that into a deep space, trying to stretch the field.
That's great defensive pressure as well there.
Absolutely. We saw a switch get called there by the OaF defense. East Steel in particular picking that up, recognizing that Hogan was trying to push that one back into the underfield. And as soon as those players crossed over, the defensive awareness from OaF allowing them to switch those assignments and maintain that pressure to overcome that imbalance in position that they had. Now with that shot coming out wide and never coming back into the field, Shimon for OaF has a great opportunity here right on the doorstep. So it looks like we're isolating Graydon Scott. Cuts under out of the end zone. Marked by Brown.
Shimon looking in. Oh, it's well covered, but it's a good take.
A beautiful score.
Just maneuvering out the front. Sometimes it's just important to get yourself in front of your defender and just have full space in order to catch the disc and secure it easily for a point. So look back here. The stack is set up perfectly. It's just going to go through the hands a couple of times as they're looking for a couple of options deep. Then Callum Shimon sees the open player who just runs through the front of the zone, just takes an easy catch.
I mean, open is one way to describe a player offending against triple coverage, but we get to see him come down with it anyway. Again, just throwing that high release backhand. We see Brown peel off to try and close that one down as well. We had Brennan trying to apply some defensive pressure there as well, but it's going to keep the game tied 3-3. This is exactly what we're kind of hoping to see, isn't it, Rich? We're looking for those tightly contested games. You come to Division 1, you're expecting to put on the very best in New Zealand Ultimate. And, I mean, so far we had this game. We're currently 3-3. Our previous game when we saw Cannons versus Anibas, the first half of the game was trading pretty comfortably as well. It's exactly what we're looking for. Some really competitive Ultimate on display for you folks at home and here at the fields watching. So the pull fades back quite a lot, touching down out of bounds.
I'll probably take this from the out of bounds mark because it's gained actually quite a lot of momentum in the swing.
So as that disc came high, caught a lot of wind and peeled back towards the far sideline.
Bowen's going to take it back to the brick mark, I think. Bowen going to be looking for options. Zoo, an easy one. Trying for the 1-2, just not available. There's good pressure by Joe.
Great work by Living on the aggressive. Oh, look at the foot speed from Andy Zoo to get that separation.
Wide open handler there. Swing it back up the far edge of your field.
Norzal working with
Zoo again. Trying to get separation downfield. The marks are pretty phenomenal from the D. It's not a lot, but Bowen's been peeling away consistently every time. So we go down to number 13, Cohen. Puts up a shot, but it's well stolen by the OaF defender.
And now with the defense out of position, we're seeing some really quick disc movement, but a touch.
Andy Zoo.
Andy Zoo comes through.
That is a phenomenal sprint down D.
And that, I mean, that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see players who are calm on offense, but also recognize when and how to turn the pressure up on defense to get the disc back. So we've got Bowen here. Swings wide to McClanahan, working with Bowen. Far sideline against a match defense. It's Norzal on that near side, or far sideline.
Back inside to Bowen, who's got Andy Zhu. There he is, by the back of the zone. Taken, great score.
Cheeky little bookends for Andy Zhu there. That great touch on defense to regain possession for the Wild Bombocats. Not quite sure how they got that one past the sensors, but I've played enough Grand Theft Auto 4 to know where that name comes from. Great work there by Andy Zhu, just getting that first touch, coming through and closing out the point on a beautiful laser show straight through the middle of the OaF defense to put Bombocats up one more time. The score is now 4-3.
I mean, full credit to Andy Zhu with firstly that run-through defense, which we'll see here. Little drive-by connection with his left arm to stop that. Just shows off his anticipation that he could see that coming from a mile away. And then has enough forethought of mind to get away from his defender, but then keep the cut going. Just to keep that separation available, get to the back of the end zone and create an excellent option to be found for the score.
It truly is a great option. We're going to see that again. Norzal with the fake, recenters to Bowen, and this is the shot.
And Bowen's been providing some excellent throws for his offense today.
Absolutely. I mean, look at the foot speed on Andy Zhu. He actually had to stop and turn around to take that one. A great throw into open space, but boy, howdy, nearly overran that one. So we're going to see a timeout called now. Not sure which team has actually called it, but I mean, the game is pretty tight. So far, it's trade. I would imagine that after the Bombocats scoring that one, going up by 1, they want to figure out how to best generate a break here and crack open the game to start establishing a toehold for them to walk away to victory. OaF, on the other hand, obviously need to stop that from happening. What can they do in terms of clinical offense? What lessons are Bombocats already learning from their offense that they need to change and address to make sure that the defense can't make some of those pick-off plays that we've seen them do?
One of the takeaways from last year's Div 2 championship was that there were a lot of points scored on runs by both of these teams. They both started gaining momentum. They both created and kept that momentum until a sudden change back, and then a run was scored by the opposite team. Now, I think both sides have been pretty excellent in holding just single or 2 points in a row, but it's be up to OaF to try and keep and create and stop Bombocats from breaking away again.
Okay, so Oliver Swanson with the disc to pull for the Wild Bombocats. We're going to see now what the outcome of that timeout was for both of these teams, what adjustments were necessary, what adjustments were made. Nice, long and low. It's going to be touchdown to turf, not fielded, but picked up instead. East Steele to recenter to Shimmons.
East Steele looking for a short pull downfield.
Scott puts the big shot up. It's fading early towards the near sideline.
So it's an idea from multi-time MVP Graydon Scott just to try and change that flow and just look for that deep shot, because that deep huck and score is always a positive. Sam Milton downfield. Solid effort, great bid, just couldn't get a hand to it.
Yeah, absolutely huge chase. I mean, just maybe like a little bit much outside on that throw. I mean, Graydon Scott can put it just about anywhere he wants. But as it came out, you could see as it started to push back towards centre field, the outside edge of the disc lifted up and it allowed it to sort of blade across. A little bit maybe more patience on that disc, a half second before throwing that. Might have been able to put a bit more float on it and a little bit more controllable into space for his receiver.
Oh, that's a phenomenal D. While Bombocats are looking to clear out the centre and try and get a player to cut through there. But now Callum Shimon, oh, that was a great take.
What a find. I mean, and that's exactly it, right? We talked before about Andy Zoo, his great run-through block to generate the turn back for Bombocats. Graydon Scott just did the exact same thing, putting that pressure on defense to get back the disc after a turn. Some classic huck and D from OaF, but able to generate that quick break, and then from Shimon for the assist.
There's a reason
to tie the game.
Reason it's been a long-term tactic for a lot of Ultimate teams, huck and D. If it
works. It probably works a little too well, I think. So, I mean, and really, particularly, we'll see that a little bit.
You look at how Bombocats have cleared out the centre there just to try and get a couple of cuts through, but everyone was just static around the outside there. They just needed some energy to come through just to avoid that stall-out sort of desperation play. It was a good effort by Oliver Swanson to get there, couldn't do much. Then Callum Shimon with just a great throw, sees his man in the end zone, quick and easy score.
Going to get to see that again.
That's a phenomenal layout.
Just great pressure defense there, keeping it nice and tight. And then as well, just that not immediately going for the glory, but recognizing the greater context of the play. So fantastic work by OaF to tie that game up. We see Brennan working with Bowen early, chipping through a zone defense that we're seeing now from OaF, looking to target space rather than the individual players. Looking to shut down lines for throws. We see Zoo cutting through, and it's another huge play.
Daryl Yo there. It's a great layout. What pressure that put on. It was just a quick change in D. They were looking for that dump first off, almost had to go for it again. Benta Lynch there connecting with number 44, Harrison Free. Looks downfield, finds the open man.
Great work finding that Morley Hall on the near sideline. Tries to put through to Free, but once again, Andy Zoo, he's in the way.
That was always going to be a tough take.
Brennan sends up the big fake.
I think OaF just trying to set up their zone D, just a bit late to it. It's really, really important when you're playing zone to be able to convert quickly from that turn back into your defense.
Brennan, every second pass, goes for the big hammer.
Oh!
And that's going to be a score for the Bombocats
Always
to put them back up by
Isaac
1.
Living. That was a great move.
Oh, please tell me we get to see that again. I mean, that really was Mitchell Brennan's point. Hopefully someone gets him a napkin for all the dribbling he was doing all over the place. Just about every other touch on the disc was his, and then eventually, right in the red zone, winds up and uncorks a beautiful vintage hammer.
It's a great tip, but you got to secure your Ds there. I think that was Danisic.
Oh, I mean, great defensive awareness to get under the disc. I think it's one of those things where that operation on instinct was just to get a hand to it. And what actually happened is he almost tipped it back towards Living for the score.
Legitimately too late to catch it on its own merits. He would have had to have caught it from the outside, which is always quite a difficult task. Just getting the hand, the center of the disc, disrupts it without a doubt, but unfortunately just pops it up in the air and just makes it an easy secure. Still great work by Isaac Living for not giving up on the point.
Huge, huge. So we're still at a 1-point game. We are 27 minutes in to our 90-minute soft cap, a game to 15. Halftime will be taken once the first team manages to score 8 points. Now, so far, if my math is correct, we're still on serve. Both teams are just trading. So the first team to really generate a defensive break and widen up the score to 2 is going to be the one that really asserts their dominance over this first half of the game.
Well, that's why I was so complimentary there of the quick switch up to the zone defense, because that was a real opportunity there that OaF came out, surprised Wild Bombocats, got the D, and then just couldn't convert. So looking now, tie up between Callum Shimon.
He steals. Scott puts the shot up.
Deep,
Middleton.
deep. Great take.
Middleton with the score to tie the game.
I mean, just got free, looked at the disc coming in, followed it all the way down, knew he had a player in front of him that was going to create a D in Oliver Swanson. Just always had his mind on where he was. As we look up for the setup, back across field, just so that they could do that long huck with the disc curving back inside, just so it will come down right in the center of the field, make it that much easier for Sam Milton there.
Beautiful score there by OaF to keep the game even. That really was just a beautiful forehand. I mean, it's one of those things. It can be a hard throw to make because you've got to find the angle where on its arc of approach, it needs to come out of the reach of the defender if they're on that shoulder. So we could see that, I think it was Brown, was parked on the right-hand shoulder of Middleton as the receiver. And he could have made a play for it, but the height of the disc was enough that maybe it was caught in his blind spot. Maybe he didn't get a chance to react to it. But it still came down sharp enough for Middleton to get a grab to it. So a really, really tough throw to make. A really, really sort of tough throw to plot out as well. But Graydon Scott just put that one up.
Harrison Free bringing the pull. It's got some air behind it. Heads all the way to the end zone with NZU picking it up. Goes straight to Bowen. Those two have been working phenomenally together. Bilby now.
And we are going to see that OaF zone one more time.
Slight miscommunication there. Oh, foul call.
And it looks like it's going to be contested by Misson. Which again, while it might not seem so keeping in mind that Ultimate is a self-officiated sport, quite often the most spirited thing you can do is contest a call, recognizing that we're not going to come to an agreement on this based on the way the play unfolded, and the best thing we can do is allow the play to reset from where it was.
As we have a look at the replay there, it looked like there might have been just a bit of restriction on the follow-through. And Bilby arguing there was contact with the disc there.
Either way, a contested throw on that one's going to go back to Bilby regardless. And we've got Graydon Scott offering some perspective and maybe some calm analysis or insight.
Theo Messon there was on the mark. It might just be a bit of a rules description there. Just confirming what needs to happen in future.
Looks like the foul is going to be accepted instead, so Bilby will remain control of the disc anyway. And so as play resumes, we'll see whether or not this OaF zone has what it takes.
They swing, they've got a lot of space out on the far side of the screen. Bandy Zhu
trying to work with Bowen.
Just trying to maneuver out of the pressure. Well, it's a great little D there by Morley Hall.
Just a fantastic, I mean, and that's exactly what a zone is looking to do, particularly as they apply pressure and compress the play a lot. You're looking to make those
Josh
windows.
Hogan there. Yeah, he has the length, he has the ability, but just for Morley Hall, just get in front of the disc there and just be that disrupting force there. As Harrison Free now looking into the end zone. Oh!
Same team, lads. Benta Lynch and Morley Hall, both double-barreled surnames, both double-barreling that disc, and it's going to generate a turnover, giving it back to the Wild Bombocats.
And Bilby with just a great defensive decision just to stay out of that and just let the confusion happen amongst the team so they wouldn't get called for a foul in any form.
A huge take by Kubra.
They're just trying to break down this zone D. They know that if they get through one big pass, there's a lot of space out the back here. Andy Zhu just gets a thumbs up to the cut down field. Now back inside, we're looking at McClanahan. And back to Bilby.
Goes up and over, finds Kubra one more time, finds McClanahan far sideline.
Joshua Hogan there.
What a beautiful line drive to score and put one back up. So again, just trading.
Listen, Hogan got away there from Harrison Free, timed his run to perfection. Once that zone D is broken, that's the big criticism of a zone D. If you get broken, it's a very easy run through, just quick puts, and you can easily score from that. So it's very, very important that you have a setup that can easily be maneuvered back and that you're all on the same feed. It's McClanahan there, the great little put straight through the Hogan.
Just recognising as well, Hogan having that separation. And I mean, as you say, it's all about that manoeuvrability. Recognising as a downfielder where the flow is going to be. Am I getting this pass? No. Cool. Who's getting this pass? Where are they going to be able to throw to? Can I get into that space, or is someone else better positioned for it? So using that kind of awareness, that experience to time your cuts and space your cuts out is such a huge advantage, and particularly in a game as close as this one. I mean, are we here at Awakarangi Park, or are we at the New Zealand Stock Exchange with all the trading that we're seeing here today?
Listen, some high quality stock market prices. We keep going up. Getting a percentage return every time. No, both Wild Bombocats and OaF have both been phenomenal so far to start. Looking for a setup here from Mitchell Brennan.
Now, we've seen him use a really, really good outside roll. Are we going to see it again? Yes, but it's going to touch down a little bit closer towards center field now. Still that same roll. Skims down, we see Shimon to pick up and initiate, supported by Steele. A side stack from OaF, looking to potentially isolate a player. Graydon Scott, the back of the stack on an undercut, gets the disc wide open. Who's there for him? Oh,
Rory
what a
Liston,
rip
I
down.
believe.
Is that Liston?
Still a perfect catch. Listen, heavy pressure is always difficult on an offensive player. Wild Bombocats bought the effort. They did exactly what they needed to do. Sometimes you just get a great catch in the middle of it all.
That looks like Miles Hutchison, I think, on the score there. Fantastic work by OaF to once again tie the game. We are at 6 apiece.
As OaF quickly call a timeout just to have a chat. So potentially talk about the Ds, because they've been getting a lot of them. They just haven't been able to convert that into points and breaks.
That is, I mean, and really that's the thing. It's that switch, and particularly when you have lots of turnovers. We talk often about the switch focus cost in terms of your attention span. So playing offense, being aggressive, trying to be responsive to what's going on, trying to outmaneuver and outthink the defense. And then when there's a turnover and you have to play defense, and similarly, defense, it's mentally exhausting. It's a thankless job. You get out there and ostensibly your job is to get beaten. When you're on playing a lot of defense, your job is to get beaten. If the offense does their job correctly.
We just look downfield here. Norsal, Brennan both make a solid effort on the disc. Hutchison, though, watches it all the way down, boxes out Norsal in order to get himself into the perfect position to leap, grab the disc with one hand. As a downfield player, that's pretty phenomenal.
You do, in fact, love to see it. I mean, but really, it's that awareness. He went up with the outside hand as well, recognizing that. I mean, if he'd come up with the left hand, most people are right hand dominant. I think we all know that. But coming up with the left hand there would have been catching the trailing edge of the disc. It's a little bit harder to make. So having that box position, but also the body position that he was able to use a dominant hand to cut off the path of the disc for a very secure grab is just great to see.
And basically defending himself against all defense that wasn't coming from directly behind and on top of him.
Absolutely. Norzal was out of position on that one, applying great pressure nevertheless, but not in a position to make a play. And on the flip side, Brennan was on the outside. He would have had to come through Hutchison's hand to make a play at the disc.
And the fact that the Bombocats got 3 players down there is a solid defensive effort nonetheless.
I mean, we've seen that already, though. We've seen that other point where I think we had Middleton score at the front cone under triple coverage when we had Brown peel off his assignment to try and get involved. So, I mean, really, Bombocats, it's like they're doing the right thing. They're recognizing when those shots go up, hey, we've got players who have the athleticism, the speed, and the reactions to get into position to make a play, but somehow, even under double or triple coverage, OaF seem to be coming down with it. So we're seeing just such a tight game. The team that really pours it on defense first is going to be the one that I think walks away with the win here.
That's a great deep pull, by the way, to kick us off. Bowen could bring it back in with Brown.
And working with Swinson as well. Around to Brown.
So we've seen OaF now go back to what looks like a bit of a soft match. The much closer match downfield.
Oh, knee slide's not going to be able to keep it in the hands.
Just trying to corral it. Just slightly on the throw-in, but it was still a good effort to stop and trap and make the effort there.
Yeah, great reaction there by Cohen, but not going to be enough. We're going to see turn here. OaF with an opportunity for a break. If Scott to pick up and initiate can keep it nice and calm. Oh, Swinson with the touch over Yo. It came in like a bullet, bounced off the breadbasket. We see Hearn to pick up and initiate.
Back into Bowen. Now back at Swanson. Oh, Hogan there just flew just past his right hand. Both sides going back and forth here. And solid efforts. They just need, arguably, just to take a bit more time. Both teams just work what's downfield instead of moving disc on as fast as they have been.
Benta Lynch. Hutchison over free. Puts the shot up looking for Scott. Bowen in hot pursuit, but it's got a lot of float, and Bowen has position.
Bowen, I mean, he got himself in the perfect position there.
That was such a fantastic read on defense there. We see a wide open Brown to work with Bowen to get some space and power position, but he can't send off the huck. Threads one through to Hearn. Quick chip shot through to Norzal for a layout on the near sideline, marked by Hutchison. Looks back to a wide open Brown. Swinson's there as an option. We're seeing that same cycle through on the Bombercat side this time. It's Brown, Bowen, and Swinson.
Hogan coming back down to create an option, but they're looking further downfield to Norzal.
What a great take over Hutchison there. He's just got such good foot speed on those undercuts. It's amazing to see. Swinson with the shimmy shake. The old Fisher and Paykel cut, leaving his opponent spinning.
Hogan now, far edge. Oh, goes for a low one, and it's well held by Hearn.
Just absolutely fantastic. Free, very tight and close on the defense. Wondering whether or not that might constitute a disc width violation, but Hearn's not going to make a big fuss about it. Benta Lynch with a great layout block to generate the turn. I mean, the throw was on. The throw was well executed.
Was absolutely on, but I think one of the keys that we're looking at are OaF being so close and so aggressive on the mark. That's just creating enough pressure that Bombocats were feeling the need just to move it on a bit faster, and that's what created the pressure to get the turn there. That's a great hit. Great take that way, Steele. Looking further downfield.
Steele gets the recentering pass. It's open on the wide sideline, but it comes in a little bit low, and it's going to give Bombocats an opportunity to go back on 7. It's not clean, but it is a hold.
Brown will walk over to the disc, look downfield, see what's there. Hearn's created a good option, but this was not picked up fast enough to use him. Got Hogan cutting inside, creating a dump off there. He looks downfield.
Again, it looks like a little bit of stagnation that we're seeing from the Bombocats offense there. Great work by Cohen to get that one. Puts a shot up.
It's just the pressure on the mark is doing wonderful things, but it's a perfect take after a perfect throw. Just the curve and the height working it beautifully into the hands. Easy score for the Bombocats in the end.
Yeah, I think one of the things on the offensive structure for that one, we saw Swinson back, we saw Brown back, but they were quite static when we had Hogan make that great undercut in. It was kind of into space that Swinson was clearly thinking about taking up, and just a little bit of miscommunication kind of pinned things down for them. So it was really great that the defenders, the downfield players rather, were able to see that and get into a better position to try and unstick the offense. And it clearly worked out for them as Bombocats go 1 point away from taking half in the first stream game of our Opens division in the 2024.
You look at the height and curve on this throw here by number 13, Gatsby Cohen. Just sees the defender coming in, enough under it just to get above Daryl Yeo and into the hands of Adam Brown.
Fitzgerald, eat your heart out. We've got the greater Gatsby over here, number 13 for the Bombocats with a great assist.
It's top-notch stuff. Bombocats now 7-6. Once again, another trade. Another hole to serve. Let's see what OaF can do this time round. Mitchell Brennan now. Yeah. He's been pretty good on his pulls so far. And that's another gorgeous one.
Comes towards the near sideline, puts a little bit of inside on it. It's going to skim, but it's fielded by Scott, working with Shimon.
Graydon Scott has had a lot of hucks downfield from this position. There he goes for another one again.
Looking for Liddell.
Too much mustard on it.
Oh, but she had the separation.
As you go give it to Liddell, she's an excellent player, and she's just incredibly quick. So she can build up that separation very fast if you're not paying close attention to the mark.
I mean, it opens up a discussion about the invisible labour of women, really, doesn't it, when they're cleaning up after the men? Even on the Frisbee fields. A little bit of equality. We do, in fact, love to see it. Next time, Graydon maybe holster that one half a second. Give her a decent shot at running that one down.
Chambers now with the disc, looking down the sideline. Had a look at Brennan, couldn't find him, but finds number A1 Linklater instead.
Brennan now on a nice aggressive under, but decides to go around looking for Chambers. Hits the up line.
Kubra. Oh.
He's questioning whether or not it was up or down. And great spirit call there by Bilby on the sideline.
Bilby was right on the disc on the sideline there.
It hit the turf long before you had, well, I say long before. It hit the turf before you had it trapped between two parts of the body. So it's going to be a turnover.
And like Liddell just was focused too much on the D there. As we see it come back in, that's a great D. Superb work by, I believe, Owen McGrath there running through and then creating an option down deep if Chambers wants it.
And that's going to be there. He's getting it. Josh Wong in a great upline cut, but it's not going to be the option. He's looking for Norzal. Oh, not today.
Just a little bit of height advantage there, I believe, by Benta Lynch is that.
That was Sam Middleton with a great reception. He's going to get it on the upline as we see Scott pushing deep. He's got the fade, the separation.
Oh, he calls it in, but it's going to be contested there. Not sure.
Contested in call potentially.
He was on the run. There's no doubt about it. But it's going to be a close one. So we'll see the replay and see what we can see. So a lovely little huck D.
Now, the white lines that you see on the field, not as useful for our purposes.
Oh,
I think
that's a tight one.
That is absolutely a tight one. I think when in doubt, call it out. Probably a straddle there. But it looks like they may have called that in anyway, so that is going to be.
It's a question of the time of the elevation of that back foot. And it's just.
It's a little too close to call. Looks like they're going to give OaF the point. They're going to tie the game again. It's 7-7. We have ourselves a galaxy point. So the next team to score is going to take halftime and the advantage psychologically that comes with it, Rich.
Halfway to soft cap as well. It's been a very, very evenly matched game, and both sides have done some superb efforts.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is realistically, considering that we are looking to play to 90 minutes, we're 45 minutes into the game, the next point is going to be 8 minutes, and it's just been offensive hold after offensive hold. This is definitely a contender for the most time-efficient and offensive-efficient ultimate I've ever seen. So it all comes down to this. Any predictions for this last point of the half, Rich, or are we're just going to leave it all out to the players and call it how we see it?
Call it how we see it, I think. Look, if we're going based on current history, a couple of Ds and Bombocats on their serve will score again. Yep. It'll be interesting to see whether OaF come out in that little zone D that caused so much pressure at the start when they flicked to it in order just to change something up.
Yeah, that is a very, very good point. I really did like the OaF zone defense. It kind of scrambled the Bombocats offense. They know they've got a lot of advantage when it comes to those individual person matchups. So being able to shut down a lot of the space that they're trying to target to lead their players into is a great work there.
Well, they have stuck with the match, though, as that's a beautiful feed from Bowen through to Bilby, who looks deep, goes short with an undercut over the Swanson.
To Zoo, Andy Zoo, he's got Bilby available as a reset, but decides to push up that far sideline looking for Swinson.
Hogan deep on his own as well. Andy Zoo with a beautiful cut, but the disc just doesn't find his hands.
That was a great defensive pressure as well to sort of take away a lot of the room that Zoo had to move without drawing contact.
It was always going to be a sideline shot if he was going to get it, and it was just probably about 2 steps too far away from him.
Oh, that is one of the problems. I mean, we're seeing a lot of that, I think, particularly in this game, just as teams, maybe the nerves are starting to settle in. We're seeing a lot of overthrows generating turnovers. Hutchison there, giving up the disc, going back the other way, right on the doorstep. We see Bowen calling for calm.
Bombocats will you would think that it would be vital to their momentum now in order to get this point. Well, I think they can very easily.
Swinson's got the shimmy shake.
Beauty.
Oh, my goodness. Mixed up the defense worse than twin babies at a hospital to close out the half. Bombocats go up by 1. We're still on a trade. So they have taken half. We're going to take a short break. But just a fantastic first half. Some really great ultimate on display. We're seeing a few unforced errors that we're hopefully going to see dialed in and tightened up throughout the second half. But ultimately, both of these teams playing really, really great offense here.
Hogan deep, thought about a cut, left the space open for Swanson. That's just great teammate play there.
Fantastic
well done by the
work.
Bombocats as they take half 8-7.
Beautiful work by both sides. But huge thanks not only to ULTI.TV, but also to our friends over at Low Cost Bins, who are helping to keep the fields here at Awakairangi Park cleaner than the Ultimate, or at least as clean as the Ultimate. Fantastic work. My name, as always, is Blair Monroe.
I'm Richard Harris.
And we will be back with you very soon. Welcome back to the second half of the second game of our stream coverage, the first streamed game for our open division at the Division 1 New Zealand Ultimate Championships at beautiful OaF Park here in Wellington. We have the Wellington Wild Bombocats facing off against OaF, Otago and friends. The game is so tight that you could not fit the knife of a blade in between it, much like the stone masonry of Mesoamerican architecture. And my goodness, it's just trade after trade. Such great offense on display here. Now, we were having a little bit of a chat. My name is Blem, and I'm joined in the booth by the one and only Richard Harris. And we were sort of talking a little bit about what we sort of think the first game has looked like. And one of the things you were saying is the Bombocats look to be playing a sort of more precise conventional offense, but we're seeing better creative Frisbee from the side of OaF, and it's keeping them in the game.
But also, like, the thing that I brought up several times during that first half was this ability to switch up on defense and the ability to pressure much more the Bombocats on defense that OaF were providing. Bombocats have been getting numbers to defensive contests. They've been doing the job by the book correctly, officially. They've watched the huck come out. They've gotten numbers there. They've created pressure. They just haven't been able to come up with the turns in the same way that OaF has, by creating much, much more pressure on the mark.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen so far Bombocats stick to a very strict match offense. We've seen OaF mix things up a little bit to good effect when we see them come down with that zone. They're really looking to apply pressure on the disc, forcing those number of passes sideways. Somebody at home maybe wants to do a little bit of statistical analysis for us, but I mean, if you throw one 90% pass, if you throw a 50-50 huck, one in every two options it's going to come down as a turnover. If you throw 190% passes, how many of those 90% passes do you need before the likelihood of an error slipping in makes it worthwhile? And really, that's what a zone's trying to do. They're just trying to force that accumulation of error in the offense until they overthrow, they miscommunicate, the cuts aren't well timed. Something slips in and gives the defense enough of an edge to generate that turnover and convert from it. Now, we haven't seen any defensive conversions in that first half. We've seen those turnovers generated and some great offensive pressure, but something is not connecting with those teams after they're able to generate that turn. So hopefully we'll see something happen in this half to really widen up the game.
Well, it's two very different forms of offense that we've seen as well. Bombocats are very much more focused on building up a platform. They've been going a lot more for the short little simple passes and going up the sideline quite a bit. Meanwhile, you've seen some very, very key hucks by OaF. Some of them haven't come off, but the ones that have been very, very gratefully done. Sam Milton, his hold earlier on during the game, phenomenal stuff. As the pull comes in, and it's a phenomenal one to kick us off all the way down to the end zone.
Okay, and we've got East Steel here trying to isolate in the midfield.
That is great D there by Owen McGrath. He came up with a fantastic D at the end of that first half and has gone straight back into the second half with the exact same mentality. See if he can bookends this.
We've got Bealby and Brown to initiate, pushing all the players to the far end of the end zone. It's Brennan at the front, but we're still going to look to isolate. Kubra is not going to come. Not going to come away with it.
So McGrath again. He had a hand on it too.
But Hutchison's going to get it.
Callum Shimon now.
Benta Lynch with the disc.
Back to East Steel. East Steel looking downfield again.
Uses a big fake to pull McClanahan out in front, but it's not going to be enough.
Is that Callum Shimon downfield?
It looks like Callum Shimon downfield.
Taken.
And once again, we just see another hold to tie the game. Now, at this rate, unless they can generate a break, Bombocats are going to win solely by virtue of being one up ahead at every offensive hold. So at the end of every hold, if we're racing to 15, the first team that's going to get 15 is the team that's up at any given point. So OaF really need to start. I want to see more from them on defense. Now, they've put down some really great zone work, and it's worked so effectively. I just want to see more of it.
What I can't get over is the similarity but the difference to the game that we saw at the Div 2 finals last year. Last year we had Universe Point, phenomenal game, but what we kept seeing was runs of momentum where 3-4 points were scored and then breakbacks began, and then we had 3 or 4 points scored in a row again. And that's just how it went throughout the entire game. This one's just hold. It's been phenomenal work by both sides. OaF looking now just to kick us off. Both sides have had a very, very brief chat. line of the Wildcats are getting very close together. Just trying to determine, especially between Josh Hogan's created some great play downfield, but hasn't really seen a lot of the disc.
Absolutely. I mean, we've called out his name a few times on some great open undercuts. But yeah, it's one of those, and to be fair, it's one of those hard things to do as well. It can be a thankless job to make a lot of output, to generate a lot of output, and for what might not feel like a lot of return. Bowen with the disc, pushing to sideline for Cohen. Eaten up by Yo.
Yo at a quick peek downfield, nothing doing there.
Oh, the spin fake. You love to see it.
Well taken.
Free's going to get it.
I just can't connect with Benza Lynch.
So Bombocats have an opportunity now.
And Bowen, he's done some phenomenal handler work today, has taken a lot of it up. Has been excellent from the starting point. Looking across, finding Brown. They've worked together pretty phenomenally as well. As we cut back in now, Blake Chambers looking for his option. He's got Hearn on the outside, and the disc will eventually find its way via the right from Adam Brown. Cross
Great
now.
work to Gatsby Cohen.
Gatsby Cohen uncorked a great assist earlier.
Are we going to see it again? Decides instead for the safe reset to Hogan with a big left-hand fake. Can't shift free. Decides to go backhand side. Finds Bowen. Continues across with the momentum. And looks like foul was called. Yeah.
I think the claim is that it was a push-off earlier. Clearly, whatever happened there, the disc was given up on very, very early on the piece. As we see a replay now, Bowen throwing it in across. Oh.
So I have to wonder if the cut was bailed out in response to the foul being called.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that can be quite important as well for those watching at home. Making those hand signals really, really clear and just being careful about how vocal you are.
As Brown now with the setup from Bowen. They're looking to score. They were looking downfield both times pretty eagerly, but Bowen and Brown just worked phenomenally with these 1-2 cuts.
Hogan now trying to push back into the deep field space. We've got Reese Hearn getting open.
We've got Chambers, but goes back to Bowen.
It's just those little chip shots up the line that are doing such a great job of opening up the sideline for them.
Props to the Bombocats. They're clearing out the space as well every time, so they're getting the cut off, then they're sprinting away. And
the hammer over the top.
Just watching the disc into the hands. There was a contest that went up in front. But yeah, brilliant play by the Bombocats.
Fantastic work. And again, it's hold on, hold on, hold. So
it's Isaac Living, I believe.
I think you might be right. Isaac Living with the score for that one.
Almost just sat at the bottom of the contest, waiting for a mistake to be made by the two players in front of him as we watch the replay. Again, Bowen and Brown, these setups.
Yep, just peeling off back.
So I think it was actually intended for him, but Gatsby Cohen was close enough to go for the disc anyway, as arguably he should have, given the disc was just above his fingertips.
So we're going to get to see that again. Throws the hammer.
Yeah, no, it ended up being a phenomenal cut down the back there.
And really, I think that's a good thing to do as well on offense, recognizing where your defense perceives the threat to be. So that allowed him to make that move back away from the disc, to use the depth of the end zone to pull that one down. It's fantastic to watch. Really, really good vision. And now we're going to see, most likely, an aggressive offensive hold from OaF to tie the game back up.
Listen, it's traditional at this point that we see a hold every time. Listen, whoever breaks first, it's going to be such a momentum killer for whoever loses that break.
Absolutely is. I mean, so far it's just been each team's offensive line getting out, putting in the work, and then tightening up on defense, getting the turn back and closing out. So we got Swanson with the disc. Nice high pull with some inside edge. A lot of float underneath that.
Allows the D to almost get to the end zone for the pull to start off.
Beautiful work. Great work by Middleton there to open up the field. Finds East Steele as the defense is a bit slow to get into position. Wong aggressive on the disc. He's following it around, but he's going to let up that break side to Graydon Scott, pushing towards the near sideline. Works with East Steele, pushing far sideline now for Middleton again.
It was a great push-off cut downfield.
Steele getting great motion as well, bouncing with Liddell to find far sideline. Big Huck going up for Scott. There's the trade. It's 9-9.
Scott made about 3 cuts going deep. Every one of them, he got some form of a start. You could tell from the Bombocats and the way they were playing that day, they were sitting off the direct line handlers just a little bit, giving them a bit of space, and really focusing downfield. Scott managed just to get away from his defender every single time.
Going to get a chance to get again. So that's Liddell. Quick feed back to Steele on the far sideline, who uncorks the Huck. And again, as you said, Rich, Bombocats are doing what they're supposed to do on defense, right? Recognizing where that Huck goes on, recognizing where the defense can help out. They peeled off. They had double coverage on Scott, but just with the separation that he had, was able to pull that one down to keep the game close.
Well, so far, we've had about 4 or 5 OaF players just running those regular cuts towards the end zone for those Hucks. And they've been doing a phenomenal job at it.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's all they, realistically, if it's probably scored them about 3 or 4 points now, fairly easily.
Yeah.
So, you know, you may as well keep going down the path of success. But Bombocats, I mean, you almost have to consider maybe just putting a man zone deep.
Absolutely, and I mean, we've got quite a few players, certainly on this OaF line as well. I mean, who play a lot of zone typically. I mean, we're in Wellington as well. The windy conditions here are known throughout certainly the New Zealand Ultimate community and probably a lot throughout sort of Australasia.
Brown and Bilby just working it out from their own end zone now.
Yep, and a stoppage called. I mean, they're used to playing in wind, and so, you know, they've played a lot of zone, likely against their own team, against other teams when they're scrimmaging. So they should sort of be aware that when those Hucks come up, you need someone available, particularly when you've got great receivers. You've got Benta Lynch, who's going to be wide open for them. Oh, that was a beautiful find to Bilby, working through to Zoo.
I mean, Brown was desperately looking for Bowen and Bilby, and that's a phenomenal second effort from Brown.
McClanahan on a great deep cut, but it's going to be Bowen instead. Oh, it's going to be turf.
And he might have winded himself just on that layout there. I mean, it was a solid bid. Just couldn't connect. Almost an over-reliance there, I think, on Bowen from Brown. He had other options they could have gone to. And the turn immediately comes. Just couldn't get down the Benta Lynch there.
Came in a little bit low, came in a little bit hot. It's going to give the disc back to the Bombocats, who come wide early.
As that Bowen-Brown pairing again, working their way through to Zhu in the center. Goes back to Brown.
Harrison free on defense, lets up the far sideline.
Great take by Living there.
Huge take by Living. He puts
deep.
a high shot up. It's McClanahan underneath it.
Oh,
what a take. What a take.
Oh, it's beautiful offensive play. Boxed it out to perfection. Waited until the disc came into actual grabbing region and went for it and got it.
Now, I mean, and really, that's one of the best boxes that we've seen throughout this game. You drew attention as well at a point in the first half. Late in the first half, we saw Miles Hutchison do the same thing in triple coverage, just having that great position. Right there, we're going to get to see that again as Bombocats call a timeout.
Watch McClanahan's eyes here, because he knows he doesn't have the height advantage. But he just stays, waits, draws the defender's attention, draws him to his right-hand side, and then just cuts away at the end in order to get the disc. It was gorgeous.
And that, I think, is the key thing, right? Making sure that the defender is playing the man and not the disc. We see that. He pushed as though it was going to get far side. And I think that's something that happens, too, in high-pressure situations. A defender will try and read the offender to figure out where it's going to go. You can turn to look at the disc, but if you do that too late, your offense has cooked you, right? Yeah. And that's what happened. That's what I think happened there. So the defense was trying to stay dialed into the offender, and just that push towards the far sideline to try and get not really contact, but position against the defender, and then bail out of that to get a comfortable acceleration onto disc. I mean, it was close, but it could have been a lot closer. And so well done by the Bombocats to break double digits in this match.
I mean, that was just a textbook play right at the end there. Like, you couldn't teach it better.
Oh, just Bombocats out here putting on a little bit of an offensive clinic for you there, folks. Fantastic to see. But we're still waiting on a break.
Yeah. We've got a deep discussion now. Bombocats taking their time. Desperately probably looking for that break. But they also know that if they keep holding, it's going to be their win. So, hey, just keep playing the way you have been.
Absolutely. But, I mean, based solely on how we saw things unfold at last week's Division 2, just holding isn't always enough.
No.
We've seen a couple of teams, quite a few of our matches, particularly in the bracket stages, push all the way through to a universe point. The score is tied. The next point going to win it. And really, that's kind of where we are at the moment. We're going to see a 14-14 if we just see holding. And then it's going to be Bombocats on serve, and that's going to be what allows them to win the game. So OaF really need a hold and a break here if they want to establish a bit of presence in this second half.
I recommend everyone go back and watch those Div 2 finals, as we saw a couple of major comebacks from 14 to X down. E-Steel now with the disc, looking downfield for a decent option from Scott, who will go back for a second effort, but it's gone the other way. Altenberg carry now.
Yeah, some great work there by E-Steel as well, kind of recognizing, hey, I've pulled the defense out of the way, pointing where the disc should be going. That same cut across the front.
Working between Shimon and E-Steel was top-notch there. Abby Liddell now with the disc.
Bombocats feeling a little bit flat-footed. They're not really present on the defense at the moment. It's
Well,
E-Steel and Liddell working with it.
They're not really getting on the mark.
The
They're
Abby
walking
Liddell
backwards.
hammer is back, and it's
put
touched
down.
to the turf. Oh,
Braden Scott, 2 hands there, probably needed to go up with. It's definitely style points, but just didn't come down with the disc.
this is what Bombocats need. We know they've been able to apply a lot of a lot of offensive pressure. If they can keep it up here, it's going to be what allows them to walk away with the game. Swanson has it as Shimon looks to close. Pressure on the mark.
Return there.
Far sideline marked by E-Steel. Decides to reset to Swanson. We've got an open Brown as Altenberg carry looks to close. Swanson's options aren't there. Has to go round for an upline cut. Sends the big shot up looking for Bowen. And Danisic with the great defensive pressure.
It was a good contest.
Forces him up early.
Good contest in the air. I just want to comment briefly. The big difference there on defense between both sides. While Bombocats, when they were on defense there, they weren't getting on the mark like OaF was. And I think just that little bit of pressure can cause misthrows, overthrows, underthrows. That's what I think OaF are providing a little bit more in defense than Bombocats are.
Yep. I mean, and Kubra was in a pretty good position as well to maybe follow through that cut. I think he maybe could have gone through with a bit more aggression to clean that up.
Pulled out a bit early, reckon?
Yeah, it looked like he sort of jogged down that one, kind of trusting his teammate, which I love to see trust in a teammate. But
listen, full faith in Bowen, who's had a phenomenal game so far. So Graydon Scott was looking for a deep throw. E-Steel now. Got Liddell creating a cut towards the end zone, but they're just trying to correct themselves by going to Shimon. Liddell now coming back, throws it Altenberg carry.
Great in-motion put to Altenberg carry as well.
Liddell and Altenberg carry spent the whole last week playing with the Div 2 WOOF team, so that chemistry is clear to see.
Shimon cutting across the zone. Abby Liddell cutting back the other way, finding the space.
Completely free.
E-Steel putting it out to Middleton for the score.
Oh,
it's not a score.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's going to be a turnover. He definitely got to it. But wasn't able to secure it. And this is what the Bombocats need. They've been given a couple of opportunities
off the
here.
Fingertips. E-Steel, great throw, great put.
Almost too much of a leading pass. He had to reach for it maybe.
That's
Just a whole, and that's really what Ultimate comes down to, right? It's a game of margins. Great put through to Kubra there. It's margins, right? If the throw is a millimeter off and the catch is a millimeter off, then the whole completion is a couple millimeters off, and that's often all you need.
Make your jump a millimeter off, but Kubra definitely didn't make that mistake there.
Not even a little bit. Kubra comes down with it. Bowen's there as the reset. We see Brown coming back, marked by Altenberg carry. What's developing on the near sideline? Not a lot. Swanson goes for the cut. E-Steel peels off as well.
We've got Bowen. But we go back down
Inside
to Brown.
break. I think Liddell may have got a little bit of a touch on that. It was wobblier than Swanson's throws typically are.
Bowen now just looking for an option downfield.
Puts the big shot up. We've got Hogan. We've got Norzal underneath it.
I mean, Hogan's height. Oh, he lost it in the air, and that's a great follow through. There was definitely some contact there, but
and that is
I think they'll call a goal. They will.
That is going to be the essential break to open up the game. Boy, that score was
it's the eternal break that we were looking for.
That end zone looked a little bit messier than an Argentinian football team, but it's a
Bowen,
great way for them to pull that one down.
Bowen had a great throw, right idea. He sees Hogan. Hogan's got the height advantage over all the other players now. Hogan just loses it. loses it in the air. And it's a great follow-through.
Kubra out of nowhere, off the top rope even.
Well, Kubra came from about 20 metres away. He wasn't involved in that.
Absolutely, and we're going to see him right here on the field. Now he's just about out of frame, recognizes where it is going to be, and jumps in. So just
all about following up the discs.
Absolutely, and that's great to see because really that's what happened on the last turnover that we saw from the Bombocats. Kubra kind of bailed out of that cut, and then when the defense went up and generated that turnover, it is fantastic. Genuinely, my favorite thing to see is watching players learn from the game as it's happening. So great work by Kubra to peel that one down. That was just fantastic.
And a second effort never hurt anybody. And that is like, you've got to play the disc as it stands. If the disc is in the air, it's up for grabs. And if you're nearby, go for it.
Absolutely. I mean, a disc is catchable until it hits the ground.
Correct.
And so, Bombocats with the first real toehold in this game, up by 2, an opportunity. First pull we've seen from this half on the right-hand side of your screen. It's just been trade and trade and trade. And now if Bombocats are able to just maintain the momentum that they've got through that offensive cleanliness, they're going to be able to walk away with the game. So OaF really need to fire up in the closing points of the second half.
A low flat pull from Brennan, not phased by the switch of direction. Braden Scott now.
Nice shot through to Hutchison.
Goes deep. It was always going to be a bit of a tough one to get there. Harrison free with a good effort, but Zoo had a great cut, but it was ignored in favour of Brown, who was further downfield.
And really stretching the width here as well. Zoo making a great undercut.
Oh,
nice bid by Hutchison. He's out of position, but the huck's not going to go up anyway. Looks like the downfielders are covered a little bit too tightly. Zoo loses yards.
He had
trying to
Cohen
find
there,
Brown.
but couldn't find him. And that is a great put.
Hutchison does not need to leave his feet for that one as OaF bring it back within 1.
The positioning of that throw for Hutchison to run on.
Yeah, I mean, and it was great too because you could see there was that almost half second of hesitation. Does he need to lay out? But just leaning forward, picking up that little extra few percent of acceleration, able to run it down, which is absolutely huge. That's really the perfect throw.
Well, as we see the turn again, just as you can tell, there's a very slight breeze coming that's coming in slight gusts every now and again. I think that's just affecting the play just a tiny bit, and it's just putting something into the mind of the throwers. It's pulling it out of range there. It's a good effort by Brown nonetheless. But it's also a great put in for the score.
Yeah, that's a beautiful throw. Just nice out in.
He's in a great spot. He's in a perfect spot. Yes, his massive head has blocked everything. That was a huge play, but we have seen none of it. Finney, he's done it.
Just a reminder for those who are fortunate enough to be watching at home, and also for our players here, just maintaining that 3-meter barrier.
That drop, that could have been an amazing toe inbound catch. Hey, it's that much easier to see on an action replay, and we can slow down that much more key if we've got the full line access to the 3-meter line.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing, right? We've got some really great defensive walls out here, but that's exactly it. They're walls, they're not windows. We cannot see through them.
We love the support by the Bombocats, though, and I'm happy that they're getting up for their team. But yeah,
absolutely.
So both sides just having a bit of a break, just to talk it over.
Now, 14 minutes left on the clock as we race towards 90 minutes or the first to 15. The game has only 1 point in it. Such a tight margin. If OaF can generate a break here, they'll bring it back on serve. But even if they manage to bring it back on serve with a break, it still goes back to that same issue that we had.
Yeah, Bombocats will hold.
Will lead to a Bombocats victory. So OaF really need to fire up on defense right now. 2 breaks would get them back in the game.
3 breaks will be an icing on the cake. But
absolutely.
I think Bombocats, both sides, we, as per usual, looking to try and close it out at 15 as quickly as they can. But 11-10, it's definitely a tussle. Well worthy of these 2 rivals.
I mean, and that's exactly it. Otago and friends managed to win over the Wildcats B team.
Roller of
huge pull. Straight into Bowen's hands. McClanahan working.
Bowen playing the role of wicketkeeper there. Plays it across to Owen McGrath, who's had some great Ds and some great scores.
Through to Wong, chips across to Bowen, puts a shot up, looking for Kubra. Can he get under it?
Oh, it's great D.
Huge touch by Danisic to shut that one down. That's what OaF wanted. Can they get the hold coming back the other way? Are they going to be able to convert?
Well done to Danisic. He saw that disc was going to hold up in the breeze, came through, got the touch, followed up on his D again, just to make sure, just have a look, see if there was going to be a follow-through from the offense.
Come on, get Danisicness. I'm pretty sure that's how the lyric goes. Hutchison there as the defense. As
Harrison free now in the centre, looking deep for Graydon Scott, because of course he is.
He's going to run for it. Big layout.
Yeah.
Not going to be enough. It's going to give the disc back to the Bombocats. They've got an opportunity to go back, but it's a long field. Some great territorial play on the offense side, recognizing even if we can't pull it down, we can at least make them work for it.
Huck and D always works. That's a great put up, looking for Kubra.
Link
and
later.
Again, Danisic.
What a dynamo.
He's the last two deep throws that Kubra has gone for, he has been there creating great amount of pressure both times. It's been phenomenal to see.
We're seeing an injury call, so we're going to see Scott take a substitution, will be replaced by Benta Lynch.
I hope it wasn't on that layout, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, it was.
Because it was a great effort to get as close as he did, but it was probably a bit of an unnecessary stretch.
And that's all right. We're going to see what happens as play resumes. Bombocats also have an opportunity to take a substitution. Just figuring out where the disc is going to come back in.
Benta Lynch creating a great option to start us off with.
Huge touch. Huge
McGrath
touch
again,
by McGrath, but it finds the hands.
And Benta Lynch immediately comes back out. Looks like yo, I want to say.
Yeah, and that's going to be a hold there by OaF.
Oh,
it was a break by OaF.
But we're back to where we were previously.
To bring it back to 11-all. We're back to the same spot that we were just a few moments ago. If Bombocats continue to hold, they will walk away with the win. OaF need another break in order.
Look at McGrath there. It's a phenomenal touch, but doesn't just get enough on it to bring down the D.
It's such a pretty sequence, and good awareness by Hutchison as well.
But also Benta Lynch coming back, creating that option for that little bit of broken play that they thought was a D. Yo, keeping on his route, keeping free of his man. Perfect offense.
You can see the disappointment on McGrath's face, posture, everything.
Because he's gone
huge touch, and he's got it. It's going to generate the turn, and then
he's gone about 2 or 3 of those Ds so far as well.
Yeah.
Like, he's done excellently today.
Oh my God, Father! I mean, he's in position and he's got the speed. He gets there, and just that. To have someone like Hutchison just snatch it back up.
The Bombocats have been phenomenal on run-through Ds. They've had about 3 or 4. I know Andy Zhu has been phenomenal with that as well. Like, they've been fast. They've been on the disc. Great stuff. Deep pull coming through. And it's going to be Bowen again.
Are we going to see another break? Find Swanson early as the Bombocats downfielders take a little bit of time to get involved. Looks like they're pulling players back to get involved in the handler weave there.
Blake Chambers now at the disc. He'll be looking back through it into Swanson, and it's a high one, but Swanson's
grab.
there.
We're going to see Brown pushing back into the space, but Swanson with the big hammer looking up.
Oh, well held, Isaac Living.
What a beautiful point there. That's going to give.
Hey, look, Isaac Living and Hogan are down in that end zone for a reason.
I think that's going to tie the game.
No,
that should be 12-11, but
that's
it should
12-11.
be 12-11. Yes.
The scoreboard here is slightly off on the other side of the field, I believe.
That's all right. I'm just getting confused. It's so explosive. It's so dynamic. It's hard to tell what's going on.
What you saw with the Bombocats there was they were isolating Living and Hogan, 2 of their tallest players in the end zone, to create an option for that hammer. You can see both of them sort of backtracking there in the left-hand side of your screen. And that just creates the option for the hammer in place. It was always going to be a difficult one because it's essentially a 2-on-2 contest there. But Living with the forward momentum, looking at the disc the whole way, both hands above his head, great tack. And well done by Swanson as well. Like, it's a good hammer.
I love
it's
that.
It's a good hammer. You'd love to see a crossfield hammer.
Beautiful work by Living to pull that one down. A Bombocats hold.
Odds on a no fold? I'd say pretty high. Nah. Both sides have been holding all day. We've only seen those 2 breaks so far. As again, another big pull by Brennan. Takes a roll. Well stopped by Shimon.
Steele to initiate for offense. Comes around to the near sideline, but Wong with a great steal over Altenburg carry.
Wong against the side. He captained last year.
An International Women's Month. Brennan with a big fake. Is this an opportunity? It's Norzal. His momentum carries him out, but he's right on the doorstep. Looks for Brennan, manages to find him.
Great take.
That's a necessary break for Bombocats to really widen up the scoreline. It's now 13-11 over the side from Dunedin. Great work by Wong there to just see.
Wong just anticipated the disc going to ultimate carry, cut it off, held on to the disc as well for that quick forward play if he could find it. Like, it's top-notch defense from the former OaF captain.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things where when you see those defensive interceptions, quite often they can be hit to the ground, but in the time it takes for one of your players to run up, grab the disc, and then look for their options.
I mean, that's also a great effort from Norzal to get in front of his defender. Yeah. And then Brennan just cutting up behind. Knew that there was going to be space there. So just creating the option. And then he was always ready, I think, to get out of that space if it was not going to him.
And again, it's just the angle of that cut. Cuts back to center field, gets Steele on the back shoulder, and then steps around for the front.
13-11. Break once again for the Bombocats. We got to stop talking about holds and breaks.
Oh, it's the curse of the commentator. It's the perils. The perils of giving someone a microphone, right? Much like Cassandra in Greek mythology, doomed to make prophecies that come true, but are never believed.
I have no comment to make on that.
And that's totally fine. We're going to see a really strong defensive line from this Bombocats side.
Bowen has not done a lot of pulls, but that was a superb one to start us off.
Oh, with the dirty nutmeg as well.
Bit of a bubble. Through the legs.
Shimon and Scott as Norzal closes the mark, puts a big shot up, looking for Benta Lynch. It's got a lot of float. Hogan's underneath it. Too early, and it's Hutchison.
Hutchison has been great in those downfield points, but Benta Lynch and Hogan almost boxed both one another out. They both were looking at the disc, both got too far underneath it, both didn't read it to perfection, and then there's always going to be an opportunity for that third man or woman running through. Braden Scott, good to see he's shaken off his injury from earlier.
Absolutely. A nice high shot. I mean, a lot of chase underneath that.
And Liddell as well getting underneath it to create another option. Had Hutchison not been there. Great effort from her too. OaF now back within touching distance once again.
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't realize we were also watching the Pirates of the Caribbean with the old flying Hutchman come through there. Great reception for the score. We're going to see OaF come out on defense. Shimon with the disc to initiate. Good defense, which is what we need to see here from OaF to keep them in the game. Starts with a pull and then hopefully ends with a really strong chase. I mean, if we can get the disc into a good position where OaF can pin Bombocats down in a corner, then a huge aggressive chase on that disc is going to be the necessary thing that allows them just allows them to generate those turns early.
That's a big pull in. It's going to be, again, listen, Bowen's got his skills as catching those bouncy little pulls.
Love to see it. A nice stolen by Benta Lynch to free. Puts it up. Is this the break? Yes, it is!
Bookends, Benta Lynch. Take a bow, sir. That was phenomenal.
Oh, my
effort.
God, Father. What a steal.
He just got slightly in front of Isaac Living there, took the disc away from him.
It's a deal. It's a steal. It's the score of the flippin' century. My God, Father. What a beautiful...
Look at that. Living had a step. Benta Lynch, the disc was thrown just slightly too far. Benta Lynch immediately knows that he's got to get downfield. Dumps the disc off. Gets his cutaway and gets himself in perfect position to take the score.
We've talked about the margins, and it's this here, right? Aggressive, not even really aggressive defense from Hutchison. He was doing kind of his job, but as the throw came a little bit wide, Benta Lynch recognized that he was in position to use his height, to use the length of his arms, to go around the intended receiver for a steal.
And well recognized from Harrison Free that he was going to run that cut immediately.
And again, we talked about that a lot in the first half, is that we see like Harrison Free and Max Benteledge play a lot together. Like, you know what happens with something like that.
Well, much like, Scott Milton, Shimon, Yo, they've played together, East Steel as well.
Yeah.
These guys have all played together for such a long time. You start creating those little bits of chemistry that can easily win you games.
Yeah. And it becomes a non-verbal thing as well. You start seeing someone nod ahead in a certain way as Swanson gets the disc now marked by Yo. Decides to go for a nice break to Brennan.
Primo Mitch Brennan.
The 360 in midair, threads through to Kubra, chip back to Brennan as the defense gets a little bit scrambled. It's Norzal and a travel is called.
I think it was a little hop after he took it. And we're looking on getting an update from the far field as we have a bit of a pause here. Group versus Wildcats, which is one of the really
most anticipated matchups
well,
of
it's
the tournament.
One of the battles, without a doubt. Currently, Group 14, Wildcats 13.
Now, keep in mind, folks, those who may or may not have watched last year's Division 1 tournament, Wildcats were our winners over Ellipsis from Australia. Good work by Brown to keep that one in hand.
Tracked it to perfection. Back to Swanson now, looking downfield. He's going to go
forcing the loss of yards, but Brennan gets it one more time. A little bit of a slip. Brings it back in bounds.
Looking for no, Swanson created an option, but he found Brown.
Swanson now on the far sideline, marked by Yo. They're using the width to great effect, the Bombocats, in this point.
I think just a cutback here from Brown. Just create an option.
Brown
Beautiful.
Engaged, gets the separation on the upline, threads it through for a layout grab by Brennan.
Solid work from the man.
Huge
Listen, he was involved the whole way down, creating options on both sides, cutting all across the field. It's great effort from him. Fortunately, he got injured in Northside, I believe.
Being carried off the field by his teammates. 14-13 here as well. We've got Wild Bombocats up by 1-1. One break here is going to let them walk away with the game.
Oh, it's a matter of seconds to the soft cap, but it's going to be a game to 15 regardless.
Absolutely, and it all comes down to this. I mean, we say that a lot. We've seen so many universe point finishes or really close game point finishes in our time over the last couple of weeks, over the last two tournaments. Ultimately, OaF demand perfection at this point. They need no errors on this point, and then huge amounts of defensive pressure if they want to walk away with a win.
Score on a turn. Oh,
and we've just had an update. Wildcats managed to score. The game has been tied when it's group versus Wildcats. A universe point finish for those two teams. As we hear the hooter for our soft cap, we've just gone through to our 90 minutes. That is not going to have an impact on the outcome of this game. We're still looking at a flat race, 2-15. McGrath with the pull as it comes high. The outside edge lifts up. It's going to touch down on the near sideline out of bounds. And we see the signal for the brick as Graydon Scott's going to pick that disc up, bring it back to the infield position about 18 metres in front of the middle of his defensive end zones. We're seeing OaF set up a vertical stack.
The disc almost turned its way into the car park then, such was the force underneath it. It's a heavy pull, just didn't go where it wanted. Graydon Scott shaking off that injury. Wonder if he'll be looking for a huck, as he has done so often during this game.
Marked by Zoo. Shimon making close contact with his defense. That Middleton there. Graydon Scott shakes loose of Zoo, who's looking for the downfield, trying to just be aware of all the threats. Chappell with the disc now, marked by McGrath, manages to chip through to East Steel. This could be what OaF need.
Looked like a bit of an outside cut by Harrison Free. He just didn't follow through on. Liddell creating a great option there.
Yeah, stall count getting a little bit high, but it's going to be Middleton there. Not an option. Comes back to find Liddell. How did she manage to grab that one? We see a little bit of a slip from the downfield, but it's not going to have an impact on the play. There's no call.
Vertical stack, run
inside
from Chappell.
Graydon
Scott catches the inside Zoo, looking for Free. Heavy
with
contact.
A little bit of a body check through McGrath.
But it's well held. Free, unfortunately, has not come off well for that. But he held it to perfection. 14 all.
14 all. The last point of the game is going to determine the victor. I mean, it always does typically, doesn't it?
Technically, yeah. I
You
believe that.
can't really say that the last point of the game in a game of Ultimate determines the loser. Well, I mean, technically it does.
It does winners and losers, I believe.
Yes.
It's certainly not going to determine a draw.
That's the one I'm looking for. Thank you, Richie. So, OaF, we're going to see come out on defense with a great, another pull
It's
to
a
finish
great
off
cut,
the
but
game.
heavy contact.
Huge
Listen,
play
Owen
through.
McGrath, he's been going for those sorts of discs to try and get the run through D the whole game. He's been very successful at it. They just came together because they weren't looking. They were both focused on the disc and claiming that point.
Yeah, just wanting to remind the folks at home, Ultimate is, despite its appearances at some points throughout this game, a non-contact sport.
Listen, if that had happened outside of a contest situation for the disc, it probably would have been a pretty heavy pick.
Absolutely. This is not AFL, folks.
As a former AFL player, well, technically still AFL player, only at the social level, I can tell you that much.
There's no speckies in Ultimate, are there, Rich?
Bit difficult to class one without creating contact. But hey, we still got great contests at the end zone regardless.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got Scott, we've got Hutchison, we've got Shimon. Some great players. We've got Yo.
And on Bombocats, you've got the team that's been there all day. Brown, Bowen, Swanson, Brennan, Lively, Bealby, and of course Kubra.
Fantastic.
Called out all of those names today. They've all had great moments of their own. Brown and Bowen working together as they have done.
Brennan calling for the wide swing. It's going to go away by way of Bealby. Not quite. Decides to use the far sideline, the far half, marked by Hutchison. Bealby getting engaged as a reset, goes over Benta Lynch.
Mitch Brennan running deep here. He's running all over the field.
And there's definitely going to be a stoppage called. I think Benta Lynch maybe interrupted in pursuing Bealby.
As we do have a score in the Group Wildcats game. Believe it's to Wildcats to win that game 15-14. It's a hell of a game to keep going in a Div 1 contest here. Mitch Brennan, who's gone backwards and forwards in this point.
Works with Bealby now.
Experience now starting to step up for Bombocats.
Inside break to the near sideline. Finds Brown, marked by Hutchison. Goes back around to Bealby. Benta Lynch in aggressive position on defense. It's Callum Shimon. Lets it go through to Brennan as Chappell looks to close. There's a lot of field towards the far sideline to be used. We're going to see the disc swing by way of Brown to Bowen, far sideline.
And they've got Lively and Swanson in deep end zone if they're looking for a huck, but I think it will largely be Brown and Bowen trying to set up. Brennan creating an option though. Oh,
second attempt,
effort.
Brennan gets it. Snaps straight back through to Bowen on an aggressive upline, wants the continuation.
As Brennan loses feet and Pickers
calling a foul. And it's accepted, so looks like there may have been an incidental ankle tap there that tripped Brennan. He's going to shake that off and play's going to resume with disc to remain in possession of the Bombocats. But there's
we've had Andy Zhu come on for Brennan as well. Just tripping up and eating a bit of turf there, so he'll take a seat. He was running backwards and forwards as well, up and down, making cuts all over the place. So it's going to be a heavy loss.
He cuts with intention.
But I'm sure Zhu will create the same sort of maneuvers there.
Speak of the devil, and he appears as the disc goes to Swanson by way of Zhu.
He gets his disc back. He'll look deep. Can't see any options there. He'll look to reset for Bowen. Marked well by Scott. Goes for Brown, who gets it.
Inside shot for Swanson, and
perfect
the game.
bid. Great bid from Swanson.
And that is going to be the close of the game, folks. The Wild Bombocats up 15 over OaF's 14. These two massive rivals in the Division 2 New Zealand Ultimate Championships last year. Otago coming out on top, this time giving the game away on Universe Point to the Wild Bombocats, who walk away with a win. What a fantastic finish for this match. Thank you so much to the team at ULTI.TV, our friends Low Cost Bins, the folks who helped organize Awakairangi Park, such a beautiful venue for us to bring you the very best Ultimate from here in New Zealand. My name, as always, is Blair Monroe.
Congrats to Oliver Swanson with that final score. It's a great effort from him. My name is Richard Harris.
And we will be back with you for the next one very soon.
Cheers.
ULTI.TV.